That's great. Um, Let me ask a couple questions about how much evidence you need to be able to start a process, whether it is an EO process, an MSPB process, or a union grievance. Do you have to have documentation to demonstrate that you think that something that violates the law has occurred? Do you have to have some conclusive proof? If you just have a suspicion, is that enough to justify going ahead and filing a claim?
Let's start with the others and then I'll go at the end.
So my opinion is if it well, we have time frames, right? We have to file it before that deadline passes. And so you might not have all the information that you really want to feel like you could prove the case before that deadline comes. So to be safe, to protect your claim, you could go ahead and file, just knowing that you have the ability after you file to gather more information, whether it be through FOIA or if it's a grievance process, we have through this statute the right to request information through 5 USC 7114, where we have, it's broader than FOIA, a broader right to information that we would find to be necessary to prove the grievance. It might be different for different for MSPB and EEO advice, but for the grievance, we regularly just file to protect the claim, and then start our more deep investigation after the claim's protected.
I'd say with the MSPB, it's usually very clear that an action has taken place. So a termination or a reduction in grade or pay. And because that is when your time starts, if you have any suspicion that it was illegal or improper, you should go ahead and file the appeal. And then continue to gather as much evidence as you can, but you only have 30 days. So as soon as you get the notice of termination or suspension or furlough or reduction in force, you should go ahead and file.
And I'm going to be the same in terms of with the EEOC process. If you think that something is wrong, if you are feeling, wait, I am being harassed now because of this whole feeling around me, and people are saying things that maybe they wouldn't have said before, call the EEO counselor, call, email, whatever. That's, again, one of the pluses that you get as a federal employee. There is someone who is supposed to be paid and supposed to be there under EEOC regulations to have that conversation with you. Okay, so call the counselor and just tell the counselor everything that you think is going on. Because remember, you have to have raised the issue, the concern with the counselor to then formalize it into the actual complaint. So don't feel like you need to know everything. Certainly not that you need to have all the proof. That you're filing a complaint. That's what you're doing. You're just filing the complaint. And then there's an investigation. And the investigation will dig down, and people are supposed to be testifying under oath if they're being called in as a witness, etc. So you think something's going on, it's a problem, get in touch with your EEO counselor. If you have not heard back from your EEO counselor, after a week, 10 days, email us at prideandexile11@gmail.com. We want to know if that's happening at different agencies.
That's great. Well, I will ask each of you to respond to one last question, and then I'll turn it over to Hai for closing remarks. And that question, which I think is a positive note to leave us on, is how can we all on the phone support our coworkers, our colleagues, our clients, our stakeholders who are struggling in these really challenging periods and having all kinds of repercussions from feeling under attack? How can we band together as a community to offer support to all of us on this call and much more broadly to people around the country who are struggling in this climate. So why don't we start with Yvette and then go to Anisha, and then Hai, you can go from your answer into your closing remarks.
Thanks for that question. That one seems like custom built for me. I think that we're doing it now. We are being together. You know, you're not alone out there, and we can't stay alone at this time. You know, we have to do things like we're doing now, which is, you know, educating ourselves and each other about what our rights are, what we can do so that we can have some sense of control and empowerment, and some, you know, sense that there's a possibility that things could change. If nobody asserts their rights, if everybody stays quiet, you know, society won't change. It takes that pain, that battle to really get us to the future that we all really want to be part of so desperately right now. But I will say, you know, attending webinars, educating yourself, forming a community, you know, standing with others, getting to know your coworkers even that maybe, you know, you haven't really dealt with in a personal capacity. You know, now you could really bond over this shared trauma and maybe come together and form a new attack. Maybe it's a class action, maybe it's attending like the Federal Unionist Network, the FUN Network. Google them. They are fantastic. They're part of it. They were born at the Labor Notes Conference. There's a lot of great mobilization that's happening around. You know, it's a very grassroots effort. People are camping out on the Senate steps to lobby for their jobs back. And the unions, we are actively organizing right now for, you know, some big collective push. Can't really tell you anything more yet, but there will be opportunities for us to get together face to face and do something more than just file a complaint. But also, you know, we need to be looking out for each other in terms of mutual aid. I know that there are some organizations that have set up, and you could email me this about you and I can send you the direct link, but there's some funds that you could GoFundMe, various things for federal employees that are, you know, truly in this spot to get some help from the community. We should all be, you know, looking for those opportunities. If you can donate to those sorts of things, do it. If you're a lawyer and you have time and passion for helping feds, volunteer at We the Action for this network. All of that's really important right now. And all of it is bringing us close together and bringing these brilliant minds and this wonderful expertise together as a community. And so stay involved, get involved in more things. And when we send out the responses, I'll be sure to drop in links to the FUN network, this Lawyers Action network that we're building, and any other thing that I could think of to kind of keep our momentum going as a group.
Great. Anisha?
Well, I think Yvette said it all, but I guess what I would add is, and what I've been trying to do is find the right balance between staying informed, but sane. So don't forget your hobbies. Don't forget hanging out with friends and talking about things other than what's happening. I know it can be difficult because we're all consumed by it, rightfully so. I think there are glimmers of hope. There are court decisions. People are being reinstated. Hopefully for the long term, we're not sure, but I think there are glimmers of hope. So to the extent you can, I would hold on to those. Um, like I said, we've submitted class appeals before the MSPB. People are looking for declarants. They're looking for people who can speak to what's currently happening in the agencies. So just any way that you can provide information, provide support, provide sanity to others, I think is particularly helpful during this time.
That's great. And now for an answer and closing remarks, I will turn it back to Hai. Thank you so much for letting me participate in this. This has been informative and affirming, and I'm so glad to be a part of this community.
Well, thank you. And to be honest, my answer, my closing is basically the same, right? I mean, there was no such thing as Pride in Exile before 4 weeks ago, and there shouldn't have to have been one. Right? This should have all been able to be inside with employee affinity groups, LGBTQ affinity groups in every agency. We created Pride in Exile, sort of EEOC alums. We're hoping that other agencies, might want to do that. We won't talk about that in this sort of recorded session, but we welcome people reaching out to us through the email. It's very interesting in nature. My tagline for a lot of my LinkedIn posts was stay informed, stay angry, stay engaged. And I urge anyone to link in with me on LinkedIn because I'm doing posting on various things. So, that's the point is about staying informed, staying angry, staying engaged. So if everyone who's listening now and everyone who's registered who will get a link to the transcript and the video, if you send it to 3 other people, right there, you will have extended information. So we do all have to be in this together. And back to Jocelyn, what you said before, your quotes, and I live by those, truly. And the one about, the arc of justice is long, but it does bend towards justice. We have to hold on to that. We have to believe that. So thank you to everyone here who participated. Thank you to our 2 sign language interpreters, so that when it's on video, anyone who is deaf can be able to hear everything. And stay in touch with us. Go to prideinexile.org. Stay informed, stay angry, stay engaged. Thank you. That's good because I want to thank the people behind the scenes who have been doing this, some people whose names I'm not going to mention, but I will tell you that since I had bought the domain name and the webinar rights, I thought if I had to do this, forget it. You already saw it. I do think it's McCarthy era, and that's why my computer froze. But there were a lot of other people who helped make this happen, who are behind the scenes, and I want to thank them. And if you want to help, just email us. So thank you all, and have a great evening, and stay strong.